before this video starts, I did want to share that I made a version of my own word tracker publicly available over on my community tab. Check it out. It's exactly like mine. I even have some comments and an example page for what it should look like for y'all. Feel free to use it, feel free to change it, feel free to ignore. All right, time for the video. Hey guys, I'm Kate. Welcome back to my channel. And last year I made a video about how I was starting MILWORDY. Basically, the goal was to write 1 million words in a year. I got some other people to kind of join in on this challenge with me, this personal challenge, and then I didn't really do it. September, we moved to the house, so there was a big life event that happened that I had not been expecting. So even though I tracked every day that month, you know, I talked about it then, but basically the MILWORDY that I had imagined did not really start in September, nor did it start in October or November because I did not track then. I attempted to start it in December when I started some of my other personal goals, but then my grandmother passed away, so there was another kind of personal time that I just, quite frankly, didn't want to track anything. However, I gave myself the hard deadline of January 2021. I was gonna freaking make one last stab at tracking for MILWORDY, and you know what? All of Q1, I have done that. So I wanted to share my stats. Now that my MILWORDY has started in full, I wanted to let you guys know how it was going. So in order to write 1 million words in a year, your quarterly goal needs to be 250,000 words. Let us do a drum roll to see if I achieved that. No, I didn't achieve that. I did, however, write 176,783 words. So 175,000 versus 250,000, that's like a pretty big gap. I basically got 70% of the way to my goal, which personally feels like to me something I can make up. I think I can make up the difference throughout the rest of the year. I've now really made tracking a habit. I think I can do it. I want to share also what the other stats have told me, but I wanted to give you the big number first. The stats themselves I find super interesting. Y'all know I love my stats. But before we dive deep, I wanted to talk about some of my other goals I've done well on, or tracked. First up, with a 100% rate, I have played Sudoku every single day. I cannot explain why I find this activity so soothing, but it's nice to have a new daily puzzle. I play other times. It's actually been nice to play rather than just scroll Reddit endlessly. I still scroll Reddit endlessly, but like it's a little bit better balance. One of my big goals was to finally learn Spanish. Similar to MILWORDY, it's one of those things that I'm like on my last straw of it. Like I either need to put in the work to do it or just shut up about it being a goal. Just, you know, just give up or do it. Put up or shut up, give up or do or do not, there is no try. Anyways, I wrote a whole blog post about how it's kind of my 30 by 30 or 3 by 30 goal to be fluent in Spanish. And I passed the 50-day mark a couple days ago. I'm on 52 days of doing Duolingo. I don't know that I'm particularly far along as far as lessons go, but I have discovered their sort of stories feature, which I love so much more. The voice actors are really good and it's kind of nice to follow along. I think I'm getting a bit more hint of the slang, and to be fair, though I'm not out and about in the world a whole lot right now, I do live in San Antonio, so though it's not 50-50, I feel just as likely to hear someone speaking Spanish as someone speaking English. Now for my reading goal. I think I actually set this at 26 books for the year, but for some reason I've had 24 in my brain this whole time. So basically a book every 2 weeks or 2 books a month. 24 to 26 was the goal here. I've been tracking in Storygraph and so far I have read 5 books. So I'm either 1 book behind or like 2 books behind, which much like MILWORDY, I feel like is something I can catch up on, especially because Jessica Williamson and I are planning a 24-hour readathon in May so that we can have like a little celebratory thing after Camp NaNoWriMo. I gotta get some books done then. I was talking on a Twitch stream recently, which I have been doing more regularly now. It's actually something that I've come back to every time I've had a sort of hiatus due to a life experience, which is not something that I had a huge goal for, but it's nice to know that it's become a regular thing for me because I really enjoy it. I was talking on this Twitch stream how I feel like maybe it's because we've passed the year mark of this pandemic or what, but I'm feeling that kind of low point again, specifically due to not being able to go anywhere. I know that's going to be solved soon as I had the first COVID vaccine, but I'm just feeling it, you know? I'm feeling the intensity of this past year or this past 4 months, especially for me. So I needed some happy books. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So the 5 books I've read are Beach Read, which was phenomenal. I loved it so much. I think it has been my favorite book that I've read so far this year. It made me cry, it made me laugh. It had all of the things. I read Strange the Dreamer, which was alright. I read The Boyfriend Project, which was fun, and Royal Holiday, which was also fun. So really we're seeing some rom-com here, some, you know, some lighthearted stuff, I think is what I needed. Really, I usually read for escapism, but I've especially needed the kind of light, more fluffy escapism lately. And I also finished One of Us is Lying recently too. That one was really good. Mine is like one small thing. I'll talk about that elsewhere. Okay. Those are basically the other goals that I'm really keeping track of. So let's go ahead and frickin' jump into the MILWORDY stats. Let's get more into it because it's great. I'm grabbing here. Okay. So I gave you the big breakdown of 176,000 words, 176,783, of which 34,230 were completed in January, 27,003 in February, and in March I got 115,550. My most productive day of the week was Wednesday, and then all of a sudden in March it changed to Monday. This one I do have an explanation for because I was rereading for the most part in March. That's what got me the most words at 66.8%. It's crazy. And I did that basically 2 Mondays worth, whereas I only did it once the other days of the week, if that. January I was mostly focused on short stories, both of the romance pen name and in the collaboration project. February shows a similar story, except that I actually was working on less types of projects. Literally only worked on short stories and novels that month. No novellas, not a lot about blog posts or scripts or anything like that. So 69.6% was done with the short story, with 13,000 of those words coming from the collaboration project at different stages along the way, and a little over 5,000 words in short stories from my romance pen name. Because the Marine Maps was my focus in March, we have a huge flip. So now the short story is still there, but it's a much smaller part, only 27.3%, whereas I'm focused on 71.7% of the time novels. And most specifically the Meridian Maps. I have just under $80,000. I have just under 80,000 words worth of work on the Meridian Maps for that. And of course the reread section just overwhelms the rest of the stages I was working on. In terms of sheer volume, again, MILWORDY is covering by words, not necessarily amount of time spent. It's just a different way to track, and I found I liked it. I'm actually in the middle of a time tracking project right now, and I don't know if it's less practice because again, MILWORDY was a failure in tracking multiple times through. So I guess the MILWORDY itself wasn't a failure, it was the tracking that was a failure. But I'm finding time tracking a lot more difficult. I don't know that I like to segment off my time, or I don't like seeing it that way. I don't know if that's because I'm more output driven, if I like to see the product of the work I've done, or if it's I just frankly don't like the answer. I don't know what it is. The other big thing I do want to note is that I did track in September, December, and then I've done January, February, March. Both September, December, and March I had pretty big life events happening, and the tracking shows that, right? I just had full gaps of no work done. September we could probably throw out because I was doing a lot of physical work in the moving and in the renovating of the house. So when we'd finished that, I was just kind of exhausted for the whole day physically, and even if my brain was like, I could do stuff, it just wasn't happening. But December and March were the opposite case, where I was just kind of vegging around because I was sad, you know? I think some people can take that sadness and be productive in that time, like that's how they cope with things. But the stats have shown me that that is not how I cope with stuff. You know? I need that veg time, and I think it's important to take that if that is how you cope. This is also a good note to myself to be kind, even though the other days I did work on stuff, that, you know, recognizing if I have a bad day, which is what happens sometimes, you know, it's okay that that's reflected and to not beat myself up for that. So visually seeing that is just a nice reminder to kind of just chill the fuck out. Even when you're doing something as ridiculous as trying to hit 1 million words in a year. But that is gonna be it for me. Please do comment down below. Let me know if any of these stats were interesting to you. Let me know kind of what stats you keep up with, whether it is writing related or your other goals. Let me know if you're participating in MILWORDY, if you had a start, stop, restart, stop, restart kind of thing. And let me know just how your other Q1 goals went. Or have you started anything new during this time? A new hobby that you've really loved? I would be very curious. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon with a new video. Bye. MILWORDY, writing 1 million words in a year. I feel like I'm on an infomercial. Do you want to write 1 million words in a year? What is that, no? Yes? Join us crazy folk here at MILWORDY. What am I doing?